The chamber of the Galactic Council was larger than any cathedral ever built on Earth. Its ceiling arched so high that ships could almost fly through it. Thousands of glowing banners floated in the air, each carrying the emblem of a powerful species. The room shimmered with gold, silver, and crystal. As if the galaxy itself had been melted down to make this hall of pride, delegates from 100 worlds sat in their grand seats, their bodies tall or small, scaled or feathered, armored or soft. They all had one thing in common: arrogance. They called themselves the Apex. They called themselves the Chosen. And above all, they called themselves the only Deathworlders. Every being in the chamber knew what that word meant. Deathworlders were not like other species. They were born on planets that fought against life every second. Their worlds were covered with poisons, storms, beasts, and chaos. Only the strongest survived. Only the cruelest endured. Deathworlders were feared, respected, and hated, but they were also proud. The debate that day was loud, filled with boasting and laughter. A tall reptilian lord named Cathrek slammed his claw on the shining table. "Our world. Venathor is unmatched," he roared. "Acid rains burn our skin every day, and the ground itself spits fire. Do you see us broken? No, we rule the stars." From another seat, a feathered warrior spread her wings wide. "You exaggerate, Cathrex? On Zular, the skies are filled with storms that tear ships apart. Yet we soar. We are the true Deathworlders." Another delegate, a massive beast with armored hide, growled in laughter. "Storms. Acid. Ha! On Cran, predators hunt us from birth. We do not wait for storms. We fight claws and teeth every hour." The chamber echoed with shouts, each delegate trying to outdo the other. They listed poisons, beasts, volcanoes, endless nights, burning suns, and crushing gravity. The noise grew louder and louder, a storm of pride. But then, a small voice cut through. It was not shouted, it was whispered. But in the silence that followed, every ear caught it. The voice said one word: Earth. The chamber froze. The laughter died. For a long moment, only the faint hum of the glowing banners remained. Eyes turned toward the speaker, a thin, gray-skinned alien named Vaynor. He sat low in his seat, yet his words had struck like lightning. Cathrek snarled, "Do not speak of that myth." But others leaned forward. Some eyes burned with anger, others with unease. The word Earth carried weight, old, dangerous weight. Earth was destroyed long ago, a delegate hissed. Humans are gone. Nothing remains but dust. "Are you certain?" Vaynor asked. His voice shook, but there was a strange edge. "In it, I have seen fragments, records, warnings. Their world was not like ours. It was worse." A wave of arguments burst through the chamber. Lies, shouted one. "Stories for children," cried another. "Humans were weak." "They were." "Soft," sneered a third. But not all agreed. The feathered warrior narrowed her eyes. "I have heard the same whispers. Humans, born on a world of endless predators, diseases, storms, they were called dangerous, were called monsters," another corrected. The armored beast growled. "If they were real, where are they? Now dead, buried, forgotten." Yet despite the arguments, the mood in the chamber had shifted. The name Earth hung in the air like smoke from a fire no one could see. Some laughed to hide their fear. Some grew silent because they remembered. Finally, the high speaker of the council, a towering figure with crystalline skin, raised a hand. "Enough." The chamber obeyed. "We are the council," the speaker said. "We are the rulers of this galaxy. If this Earth truly existed, if humans truly lived on such a death world, then let us see. Let us prove it false. Let us end this myth forever." The hall erupted in agreement. Yes, proof, evidence. They would investigate. An old archivist protested, his voice trembling. "Do not go there." The last records spoke of warnings, not myths. "Do not disturb Earth," they said. "Do not wake what sleeps." His words were drowned by laughter. "Fear speaks in your tongue, old one. Humans are dust." "Nothing more? We will show the galaxy that no world compares to ours." And so it was decided. The council would send ships to Earth, A fleet of proud Deathworlders would descend upon the broken planet and prove, once and for all, that humans were nothing. The preparations began at once. Warships of a dozen species gathered in orbit above the shining capital world. Their hulls gleamed with pride, their cannons ready for battle, though none expected a fight. They painted symbols of strength on their ships, mocking the idea of humans. Some even carried banners with the words, "Only Deathworlders." Arrogance. They thought it would be easy. Inside one of the warships, Cathrex stood at the command deck. "We will find ruins, perhaps bones," he said, his claws tapping against steel. "And when we do, we will display them in the council chamber. We will mount them as trophies. The myth of humans will end." The feathered warrior, Captain Zara, tilted her head. "And if the myth is real," Cathrex bared his teeth, "then they will kneel to us, or they will burn." Zara said nothing, but her feathers shifted uneasily. The fleet left the capital, engines burning bright. Thousands of eyes across the galaxy watched them go. The news spread quickly. The council would investigate Earth. Curiosity mixed with fear. Some whispered prayers, others placed bets. But no one in the council noticed the change, far away beyond. The edge of known space, Earth turned slowly in silence. Its cities were broken, its lands scarred. To alien eyes it looked abandoned, dead, forgotten. Yet Earth was not empty. Beneath its oceans, deep in its mountains, and hidden in old satellites, something ancient waited. High above the planet, in the cold of space, a satellite stirred. Shell was black, covered in dust, but its systems still lived. For thousands of years it had watched silently. For thousands of years it had slept. Now sensors detected movement, a fleet, alien ships. Entering orbit, the satellite woke fully. Its lights glowed red. Its old code whispered through the void. Signal detected. Protocol awakened. Other satellites answered. One by one, lights flickered across the night. Earth was no longer silent. Something was watching. Something was waiting. And the galaxy had just made its first mistake. As the council fleet descended toward Earth, proud and arrogant, they did not see the red eyes of satellites staring at them from the dark. They did not hear the ancient code spreading across space. They did not know that their arrival had awakened something far deadlier than they had ever faced. The humans were not gone. They were only waiting. The fleet of alien warships cut through the void like a blade of fire. Their engines glowed, their shields shimmered, and their banners of pride streamed across the stars. The Council's order was clear: descend upon Earth, search the ruins, prove to the galaxy that humans were nothing but whispers of the past. Every ship carried soldiers, scientists, and proud warriors. They believed this mission was not a test of courage, but a parade of arrogance. They thought they would land, laugh at the ruins, take relics as trophies, and return to the Council in glory. But as the fleet neared Earth, the laughter began to fade. From a distance, the planet looked alive. Blue oceans glittered, green lands stretched wide, and white storms swirled across the skies. It looked beautiful, almost inviting. Many of the alien soldiers scoffed. "So this is Earth?" One sneered. "A paradise. No death world at all." But as they descended closer, the truth began to show. The green was not healthy. Forests lay burned, twisted, and scarred. Great patches of land were blackened as if fire had consumed them for centuries. Oceans shimmered strangely, their surfaces reflecting not only sunlight, but metallic shadows beneath. Cities, if they could still be called cities, lay in ruins. Towers broken in half, bridges collapsed, and roads swallowed by vines of steel. In glass, Earth was not paradise. Earth was a grave, the fleet divided. Warships hung in orbit while landing craft broke atmosphere, streaking down like falling stars. Dust storms rose as their engines scorched the ground. The first landing site was once called New York. Now it was nothing but broken teeth of skyscrapers rising out of the ocean. Their glass shattered, their steel bent like bones left in the sun. Got Captain Zara, the feathered warrior, led her soldiers through the ruins. Her wings folded against her back, her eyes sharp. She felt the weight of silence pressing down on the city. "This place is dead," one of her lieutenants said, scanning. With glowing sensors, no life signs, no movement, only radiation and decay. But Zara did not trust silence. Deathworlds were never truly silent. Her clawed feet stepped over rubble. She touched a piece of metal wall, scorched black. Deep marks ran across it, grooves. Like claws, but sharper, deeper, and too precise to be natural. "What beast makes this?" one soldier asked. "No beast," Zara said. "Something else." Meanwhile, Cathrex and his reptilian warriors landed on what had once been Moscow. Snow covered the ruins like a shroud. Yet the buildings that still stood looked like the skeletons of giants. Cathrex's soldiers laughed as they stomped. Through the ruins, look at this world. Weak, fragile. Their walls crumbled like sand. But Cathrex was not laughing. He scraped his claw across a wall, feeling the grooves. These were not just ruins, they were scars. The city did not fall to time, he growled. It fell to war. Across the globe, more landing parties spread out. Some found deserts filled with broken machines buried in the sand. Others found jungles overgrown with steel vines. In one mountain range, they found doors, massive steel doors sealed into stone. The words burned into them, "Do not enter. Humanity sleeps." The scientists laughed at the warnings. Fear markers. Lies, one said. They wanted to scare intruders, nothing more. But the words carried weight. Even as the soldiers mocked, some felt unease crawl across their skin. Zara's unit discovered an underground bunker beneath the ruins of New York. The doors were rusted, but still intact. With great effort, they forced them open. Rush of stale air escaped, smelling of metal and ashdot inside. They found halls lined with machines, their lights long dead. Shelves filled with containers, sealed and marked with strange human symbols. One soldier tapped his scanner. No power. No life. This place has been dead for thousands of cycles. But then, deeper inside, they found a chamber still glowing faintly with light. A single machine remained alive. Screen cracked, but still working. It displayed an image, the earth glowing red with warnings. Words scrolled across the screen, repeating in dozens of alien tongues. "Do not awaken them. Do not disturb Earth. Leave now." The soldiers laughed nervously. More fear tricks. But Zara did not laugh. Her feathers shivered. When night came, the aliens spread across the ruins to set camps. Fires burned, machines hummed, and laughter returned as soldiers told stories of their own homeworlds. But as the hours passed, strange things began to happen. Scanners picked up movements, but nothing was there. Shadows flickered, though no wind. Blue, soldiers heard whispers through their cums. Words they could not understand. In Moscow's ruins, Cathrex warriors vanished one by one. First a scout, then a guard. Their signals blinked off, and no bodies were found in the jungles. Armored soldiers found claw marks freshly carved into trees. The marks were too high, too deep. They had not been there before. In the deserts, machines that had lain dead for centuries suddenly flickered with light, as if awakening. Zara stood on a ruined balcony, watching the city at night. The stars above were clear, but the silence below was heavy. She gripped her weapon tightly. "This world breathes," she whispered. "It is not dead. It is watching." Deep beneath Earth, the vibration began. At first, it was faint, like the rumble of distant thunder. But soon it grew stronger. Shaking walls, rattling bones. Scouts reported tremors across the planet. Mountains shifted. Oceans rippled. Machines long buried began to hum with forgotten power. And then, in the orbit above, satellites moved again. One by one, they turned their red eyes toward the alien fleet. They whispered to each other in code, too ancient and too advanced for the aliens to understand. Foreign presence detected. Protocol active. Humanity status dormant. Defense prepare. The aliens in orbit noticed the changes. Their scanners lit up with strange signals. Satellites awakening, one officer reported. But they are not like ours. They are older, more advanced. Destroy them, a commander ordered. Cannons fired. Beams of plasma tore across the sky, but the satellites did not fall. Instead, their shields absorbed the blasts, and for the first time in centuries, they replied, beams of light struck back, not to kill but to scan. They mapped every alien ship, every weapon, every soldier. The aliens did not know it yet, but Earth was taking inventory in the ruins of New York. Zara's feathers bristled as the ground shook beneath her. Machines in the bunker lit up, one by one, their screens glowing with strange words. She stared at the warning again. Do not awaken them. Her soldiers laughed nervously, but then the lights flickered and the words changed. They are awake. Zara froze. Above, in orbit, Kithrex stared out the window of his warship as the stars filled with glowing red eyes. Not ships, not meteors, satellites. Hundreds of them. All watching? Something is wrong, he growled. And far below, deep in the heart of Earth, something ancient opened its eyes for the first time in millennia. The humans were not gone. They were waiting. The night over Earth was not quiet anymore. The ruins of human cities that had slept for centuries now hummed with strange energy. Old satellites glowed like red eyes in the sky. Ancient machines rumbled beneath the soil, shaking the ground. The alien soldiers who had come proudly now felt unease crawling in their bones. The word Earth no longer felt like a myth. Felt like a trap. Captain Zara stood at the edge of a ruined skyscraper. Her feathers trembled in the cold night wind as she stared at the city below. Lights flickered in windows that should have been dead for thousands of years. She heard no laughter now from her soldiers, only whispers, only unease. She spoke softly, almost to herself. This world is alive. It is not dead. It waits. Behind her, one soldier muttered, Captain, scanners show movement. Something large, but no life signs. Zara narrowed her eyes. She had learned long ago on her own Deathworld never to trust scanners more than instincts. Movement with no life signs means one of two things, she said. A machine, or something our scanners do not understand. And then she saw it. A shadow moved across the ruins, tall, silent, too fast for her eyes to follow. One moment. It was on the left side of the street. The next, it was gone. Her soldiers raised their weapons. Hold, she commanded. Do not fire. Watch. But the soldiers were already trembling. Even the bravest warriors of Deathworlds felt something here they could not explain. The feeling of being hunted. Across the frozen ruins of Moscow, Kithrex and his reptilian warriors advanced through the snow. Their breath hissed against the icy wind. For hours, they had searched for their missing scouts. But no trace had been found. No footprints. No blood. No signal. Kithrex growled. Cowards, perhaps they fled. But deep inside, he did not believe it. His claws tapped against his rifle nervously. Then, without warning, a scream split the air. One of his soldiers vanished into the dark, dragged backward into an alley with impossible speed. By the time the others aimed their weapons, the alley was empty. Snow fell quietly. Over the spot where he had been, Kithrex's pride cracked. He bared his teeth. Show yourself. He roared into the ruins. His voice echoed across the broken city. We are Deathworlders. Do not fear shadows. But even as he shouted, he felt eyes on him, watching, measuring. It happened anew. York first. Zara's soldiers moved through the ruined streets cautiously, their weapons glowing in the dark. The silence pressed against them like a heavy blanket, then dashed footsteps. Slow, deliberate footsteps. From the shadows of a broken building, a figure emerged. It was tall, broad, wrapped in armor, scarred and patched with old marks. The helmet gleamed. Faintly in the moonlight, the figure walked with calm, steady steps, as if the ruins belonged to him. The soldiers froze. Zara's feathers bristled. She raised her weapon but did not fire. Her instincts screamed at her that this was no ordinary enemy. The figure stopped in the middle of the street. He looked at them. The helmet's visor glowed faintly, reflecting the fire of their camp. Then he spoke. His voice was rough, deep, filled with something none of them had ever heard before, something that made the soldiers' stomachs twist. You should not have come. The words were not a threat. They were a statement, a truth. One soldier panicked and fired. A beam of plasma shot across the street. The figure moved, too fast, in less than a breath. He vanished from their eyes and reappeared behind the soldier. A flash of steel cut through the air. The soldier's weapon fell in 2 pieces, sliced cleanly. The human did not strike the soldier himself, only his weapon, but the message was clear. The soldier staggered back. Impossible. One whispered, "No one moves that fast." The figure turned his head slowly toward them. Even through the visor, they felt his eyes burn into their souls. In Moscow, Kythrax's squad finally saw their hunter. A shape leaped from a rooftop, landing in the snow without a sound. A human, scarred armor, cold eyes, silent breath. Kythrax's warriors opened fire, beams of energy lighting up the ruins. But the human moved through them like a ghost. He did not run. He did not hide. He walked. Every shot missed. Every movement of his body was precise, timed, as if he had already seen their attacks before they fired. One by one, he struck them down, not to kill, but to disarm. Weapons snapped, armor shattered. Soldiers screamed as they were hurled into the snow. Kythrax stared in disbelief. This is not possible. The human turned his gaze on him. For the first time in his life, Kythrax, the proud Deathworlder, felt something he had never admitted before: fear. Back in New York, Zara lowered her weapon slowly. She studied the figure. His armor was ancient, patched with pieces of metal no alien recognized. His weapon was a blade, primitive, yet sharper than anything their scanners could measure. His movements were beyond calculation. "Human," she whispered. The figure said nothing. She tried again, louder. "You are human." This time he tilted his head slightly. Then he stepped closer. Every soldier tensed, weapons raised, but Zara lifted her hand. "Wait." The figure stopped only a few feet away, through the visor. She thought she saw eyes filled with storms, with endless battles, with pain carved into every line. Then he spoke again. "This world is ours. Leave or be broken." The soldiers trembled. Some wanted to run, some wanted to fight. But none dared move first, far above, in orbit. Alien commanders received reports of strange figures attacking ground troops. At first, they dismissed them as malfunctions, as hallucinations caused by Earth's toxins. But then, multiple reports came in, different cities, different soldiers, all telling the same story. Humans alive, stronger, faster, deadlier, on the ground. Kythrax stumbled back as the human warrior pressed a blade to his throat but did not strike. Instead, the human leaned close, his voice like thunder in the cold. "Tell your council. Humanity sleeps no more." And in New York, Zara watched as the human vanished back into the shadows. Faster than any eye could follow. Her feathers shivered, as she whispered to herself the words that would soon shake the galaxy. "They are not myths, they are hunters. And we are the prey." The galaxy had never known silence like this. When the first reports arrived, the council chambers were filled. With disbelief, soldier-strained warriors from the harshest worlds were sending broken messages filled with fear. They spoke of shadows that moved too fast, of weapons that cut through steel, of eyes that glowed like fire in the ruins. The word was the same in every report. Human, some delegates shouted in anger. Some laughed it off, but others, the older ones, sat in silence, remembering stories they had hoped were only myths. The council could not afford to look weak. Their pride was too great. So they made a decision that would change everything. They sent their champions. The council gathered their strongest fighters from across the galaxy, warriors born in acid storms, beasts raised in volcanic fire, killers who had survived poisoned, skies and endless predators. "If humans truly remain," the High Speaker said, his crystalline face gleaming. Let them face Deathworld against Deathworld. We will show them that we are the strongest. The champions descended to Earth in great ships. Their names were sung across the stars. The entire fleets carried them to the surface. They were not scouts, not soldiers. They were the best killers the galaxy had ever seen. They landed in the ruins of a city once called Beijing. The humans were waiting. Not armies, not fleets. Just one figure, the same one who had walked the ruins before. Armored and scarred, standing silent in the center of the broken streets. The champions laughed when they saw him. One human, one massive beast roared, his hide covered in plates of natural armor. This is insult, this is mockery. Another tall and thin with burning red eyes hissed, "We will tear this one apart and show the council his bones." But the human did not flinch. He did not step back. He simply raised his blade, and the fight began. The armored beast charged first, shaking the ground with each step. Eyes roar cracked. The air as he swung a massive claw down. The human moved like lightning. He sidestepped, his blade flashing once. The beast staggered, staring in shock as a deep cut appeared across his armored hide, something no weapon had ever pierced before. Crowd of alien soldiers gasped. Before the beast could recover, the human struck again. Not with brute force, but with speed, precision, and ruthlessness. The beast fell to his knees, blood steaming against the frozen ground. The first champion was broken in seconds. The others did not laugh. The second champion, a hunter, from the storm world of Schuler, spread her wings and launched into the sky. Lightning cracked from her talons, filling the ruins with light. She dove like a comet, faster than sound, but the human was already moving. He leaped onto a broken tower, running along its shattered edge with impossible balance. When she struck, he rolled aside, his blade flashing upward. One wing tore, feathers scattering like fire. The champion crashed into the ruins, screaming in rage. The human dropped beside her, blade at her throat. He did not strike. He only pressed it close enough for her to feel the heat of its edge. "You are not the strongest," he said softly. The words carried across the battlefield. The remaining champions hesitated. They were killers without fear, but something inside them cracked. These humans did not move like prey. They moved like predators that had trained against death itself. Still, pride drove them forward. 3 champions charged together, weapons blazing, cannons fired, claws slashed. Storms of plasma filled the streets. The ruins shook. Buildings collapsed. Fire lit the sky. But the human did not fall. He moved through chaos as if he had lived there all his life. Made was perfect, never wasted, never late. He fought like someone who had been born in the middle of storms, raised in war, trained by a planet that wanted him dead every second. One champion fell, then another, and soon only silence remained. From a distance, Cathrex and Zara watched. Their squads had gathered at the edges of the ruins, their weapons lowered, their faces pale. Cathrex growled, but his voice shook. "This cannot be. We are Deathworlders. We are the strongest. How? How can one human destroy them all?" Zara did not answer. Her feathers trembled as she stared at the human standing over the fallen champions. He did not gloat, roar in victory. He simply stood still, blade dripping, watching. "This is not war," Zara whispered. "This is demonstration." She realized the truth. Then the human had not even fought to kill. He had fought to show. To prove, and he had proven everything. The alien soldiers dragged their broken champions back to their ships. Some were alive, most were defeated, all were humbled. The fleets above Earth trembled as the news spread. For the first time, the word human was spoken not with laughter, not with disbelief, but with fear. The surviving champions carried one message back to the council. We faced a human. We lost. They are stronger than us. As the alien fleets prepared to retreat from Beijing, something else stirred. From beneath the earth, deep rumbling shook the ruins. Buildings crumbled, Rivers split, and a vast structure began to rise from the ground. At first the aliens thought it was a mountain. But then they saw the truth. A warship. A human warship, larger than anything the galaxy had ever built. Its black surface glowing with ancient symbols. It rose slowly into the sky. Engines humming like the heartbeat of a giant. The human warrior who had fought the champions turned toward it and raised his blade in salute. The message was clear. This was only the beginning. Humanity was awake. The ruins of Beijing still smoked. The alien champions who had descended with songs of glory were carried back to their ships in silence. They had not been defeated, they had been broken. One human had done this. One. And yet, the warriors who survived whispered not of shame, but of terror. They spoke of speed too fast to track, strength beyond measure, and eyes that looked at them, as if they were children. But worse than the battle was what came after, for the humans had not disappeared again. They were waiting deep beneath the ruins. Something stirred. The tremors that had shaken the ground in earlier days grew stronger. Cracks split the earth, revealing black steel doors buried under centuries of stone. As alien scanners focused on them, the doors slowly opened with a grinding sound that echoed across the ruins. Inside lay a vault. Lights flickered to life, glowing, blue against the darkness. The aliens approached carefully. Weapons raised. Captain Zara was among them.
Oh.
Her feathers bristled as she entered the vault. Unlike the ruins above, this place was alive. Machines hummed softly. Screens glowed with faint symbols. The air itself seemed heavy with history. At the center of the chamber stood a console. Zara drew near, the screen shifted. The alien symbols changed, translating, reshaping, until words appeared in 100 languages. Welcome to the Archive of Humanity. The soldiers froze. Without warning, the screens lit up. A face appeared, a human face. Not armored, not shadow-just. A man, scarred, tired, yet proud. His voice carried weight, even across the gulf of centuries. If you are seeing this, he said, then you are not of Earth. You are from beyond. You must know who we were, and why you should fear us. The aliens leaned forward. Some sneered, calling it a trick. But the room was silent as the man continued. Earth was not like your worlds. We were born on a planet that hated us. Every storm sought to drown us. Every beast sought to kill us. Every sickness sought to erase us. And yet, we survived. The screens changed, showing images and showing recordings of storms tearing across cities. Volcanoes erupting, oceans swallowing coasts. The man's voice continued. Where you would flee, we fought. Where you would surrender, we endured. In enduring, we became something else. Something more. We became predators of predators. Hunters of hunters. We became human. The alien soldiers shifted uneasily. Zara could feel their fear, though none spoke it aloud. Even Cathrex, who had always laughed at danger, stood rigid as the images unfolded. The recordings showed humans fighting beasts larger than ships, building cities in deserts of fire, sailing oceans filled with storms. They showed endless wars where humans fought not only nature, but each other. One soldier muttered, "They fight their own kind." "Why?" Zara whispered back. "Because their world gave them no peace. Conflict was their nature." The archivist's voice grew harder. "You call yourselves Deathworlders, but you do not understand. Our planet was not just death, it was evolution sharpened into a knife. Every cut, every scar, every battle made us stronger." The screen showed humans climbing mountains, crossing frozen tundras, flying into space, and then the wars of the stars. The recording shifted again. The aliens saw fleets of human warships, black as night. Rising from oceans and launching into space, "We reached for the stars," the voice said, "and the stars resisted. But we did what we always did. We fought. We built ships that no storm could break, weapons that no shield could stop. We did not fight for conquest. We fought because survival was all we knew. The images were terrifying. Human ships dwarfed alien fleets, their cannons firing beams that cut through worlds. Armies of humans moved with precision, their armor glowing, their weapons tearing apart enemies in seconds. One alien soldier stepped back. This cannot be real. No species could build such power. But deep inside, they all knew it was real, because they had seen one man defeat their greatest champions with a blade. The recording's voice grew solemn, but survival came with a price. We became too strong, too dangerous, and so we made a choice. We sealed ourselves away, built vaults, hid our warships, and went silent. For if we continued, the galaxy would drown in war, and none would survive. The screen flickered. Man's face leaned closer, his eyes hard. But know this, if you have awakened us, if you have disturbed Earth, then you have made a mistake. For we do not forgive, we do not forget. And if war comes again, humanity will rise. The message ended, the chamber went dark. Silence then, across the vault. Another message appeared in blood-red letters. You have awakened us. The soldiers stumbled back. Fear spread like fire among them. Cathrex growled, but his voice shook. Lies. This is manipulation, tricks. But Zara whispered, no. This is truth. We saw one man defeat our best, if more exist. Stopped, her feathers trembling. Another soldier cried out, if more exist, we cannot fight them. We cannot win. The vault's machines began to hum louder, as if answering. The floor trembled beneath their feet. Hidden doors opened, revealing rows of cryopods, each one filled with shadows. Human-shaped shadows? Not all were active. Some were broken. But some glowed faintly with light. They are here, Zara whispered. They never died. They only slept. In orbit above Earth, the alien fleets received the data. The recordings spread through every ship. Soldiers watched in silence as humanity's past unfolded before their eyes. Commanders tried to keep control. They shouted orders, demanded silence, threatened punishment. But nothing could erase the fear. For the first time in generations, the proud Deathworlders of the galaxy felt small, and in that silence, a question spread through every mind. If this was one human, and if more were waking, how could they ever hope to survive? Back in the ruins, Zara and Kythrex stood before the glowing cryo-pods. The glass fogged, then cleared. Inside, a human's eyes opened. Not one, not two. Dozens. They stared through the glass, unblinking, as if they had been waiting for this moment all along. Zara's heart pounded. She whispered only one word. Hunters. And as the pods hissed open, the ruins of Earth echoed with a sound the galaxy had not heard in thousands of years. The sound of humans breathing again, the sound of the cryopods opening still echoed. In the ruins of Beijing, hiss after hiss, fog spilling across the chamber floor, shapes stepping forward, their bodies tall, armored, scarred by time yet alive. The soldiers of the alien fleets stumbled back in terror. They had come to Earth expecting bones and dust. Instead, they were staring at death incarnate, humans walking again after thousands of years. And it was not one, not two, dozens. The hunters of Earth had risen. Zara stood frozen, her feathers trembled as she looked into the eyes of the humans emerging from their pods. Their faces were pale, their movements slow, but there was no weakness in them. Each one carried the same fire she had seen in the lone warrior who had destroyed their champions. Cuthrex tried to roar, to show strength, but the sound broke in his throat. His soldiers stepped back, weapons shaking in their hands. The humans did not attack. They only looked, and that look was worse than any weapon, because in their eyes, the aliens did not see prey. They saw predators, hunters. The kind of predators who never stopped once they had chosen their target. High above, alien fleets panicked. Reports flooded every channel. Soldiers shouted. Captains screamed. Commanders demanded retreat, and then the satellites moved again. The ancient human satellites that had been silent for centuries now turned toward the alien fleets. Their signals spread across the stars faster than any council. Technology, they did not send threats. They sent recordings. Every fleet, every world, every colony began to receive the same message, the archive of humanity's past.
All the storms.
Beasts, the wars, the endless survival. And then the final words, "We are awake." Across the galaxy, millions heard those words, and fear spread like a plague in the great chamber of the Galactic Council. Chaos erupted. Delegates shouted, their voices cracking with fear. Some demanded immediate war, insisting that humanity must be destroyed before they spread again. Others shouted for retreat, for surrender, for peace at any cost. "We cannot allow them to rise." One roared, "If they return, none of us are safe." "They were myths," another cried. "And yet we saw them break our champions. If even one human can do this, what of thousands?" The High Speaker tried to bring silence, but even his crystal voice trembled. "Order," he demanded. "We are the Council?" "We are," but he stopped, because even he knew the truth. They were no longer the strongest. The galaxy was no longer theirs. On distant worlds, fear boiled like fire. On Venethor, the reptilian Deathworld warriors, who had never feared storm or fire, now whispered in the shadows. They remembered the images of one human cutting through their champion like paper. On Jolar, where storms tore ships apart, soldiers looked at the sky with dread. They whispered, "If humans survived worse, then what chance do we have?" On Cran, the predator world, the mighty hunters gathered around their fires and fell silent. For the first time, they admitted there was a predator greater than themselves. Civilians panicked. Riots broke out. Ships fled into the void, carrying refugees who believed humanity would burn their worlds to ash. Even those who had never feared anything before now feared a word they had once laughed at: human in the ruins. Zara could not move. The humans stood silently before her, their eyes scanning every soldier, every weapon. Finally, the first one spoke. His voice was deep, steady. "Carrying weight that made the air itself heavy, you came to claim your Deathworlders," he said. "Now you have seen what that means." Zara's soldiers trembled. Cathrex bared his teeth, but he did not step forward. The human continued. "You thought we were gone? You thought we were myths? But we were only waiting. And now, because you came, we are awake," he pointed, toward the sky. "Tell your council this. The age of lies is over. The hunters have returned." The alien fleets broke. Commanders screamed for retreat, their pride crushed by fear. Ships turned from Earth, engines burning at full strength. They did not care for orders anymore. They only cared to escape. From orbit, Zara watched as hundreds of ships fled, their formations broken, their fleets scattered. Cathrex stood beside her, silent. His scales twitched with shame, but he said nothing. For the first time, the Council's armies had fled without battle. The retreat did not end the terror. When the fleets returned to their homeworlds, they carried more than wounded champions and broken pride. They carried stories every soldier told of the human warrior who defeated the galaxy's strongest. Every soldier described the eyes of hunters, the cryopods, the warship rising from Earth's soil, and fear grew. Some worlds shut their borders, sealing their skies with fleets. Others called for surrender before humanity even left Earth. Some, the most desperate, began building weapons-feudal machines that they knew would never be enough. Whispers turned into prayers. Prayers turned into screams. The galaxy had changed. Forever, far from Earth, on the edge of the galaxy, a council fleet commander sat alone in his chamber. His hands shook as he replayed the humans' words again and again. The hunters have returned. He turned off the recording, but the fear did not fade. He looked out at the stars and whispered, "If they rise, then nothing will stop them." As if in answer, the stars themselves seemed to shift, because far away, more human warships were rising from oceans, mountains, deserts, and hidden vaults, silent, patient, awake, and the galaxy had only seen the beginning. The galaxy did not sleep. From the highest towers of the Galactic Council to the smallest villages on forgotten moons, one name spread like fire: Human whispered in fear, shouted in anger, spoken in awe. The myth had become reality, and reality was worse than anyone imagined. The council could not agree. Some demanded peace at once. Others screamed for war. But even as they argued, Earth prepared to deliver its own answer, and that answer would be the deadliest proof of all. Above Earth, alien fleets gathered once more. Not to invade the memory of broken champions and fleeing soldiers was to fresh, but to watch. Commanders told themselves they were not afraid, that they only came to study this enemy. But inside every heartbeat was filled with dread. Their scanners lit up. Something was rising from the planet, not one ship, not two, dozens, from the ocean's massive black vessels tore free of the water, waves crashing in their wake. From mountains, hidden hangars cracked open, revealing warships buried for millennia. From deserts, metal giants rose from beneath the sand, glowing with red fire. The sky filled with them, human warships, silent, black, enormous. Their designs were older than the Council's civilizations, yet their power was undeniable. The alien fleets trembled as one by one the human ships turned toward them, not to attack, not yet to demonstrate. In the command deck of her ship, Captain Zara watched. Her claws gripped the console tightly. They are not attacking. One of her lieutenants said, his voice unsteady. No, Zara whispered. They do not need to. Her scanners showed impossible readings. The human ships were scanning them, dissecting their systems, reading every line of code in their engines, and then, without firing a single shot, the alien fleet's lights went dark. Engines failed. Weapons froze. Shields collapsed. Every alien ship, hundreds strong, went silent. Panic spread instantly. Captains shouted. Engineers screamed. Soldiers wept as their weapons refused to obey. And then, across every screen, every channel, a human face appeared. It was scarred, armored, cold. You came to claim you are Deathworlders, the human said. You came to prove strength. Now you see the truth. He raised a single hand, and every alien ship in orbit powered back on at once. Engines roared. Shields returned. Weapons hummed, but none of them had touched their controls. The humans had done it. With one gesture, they had shown they could shut down or awaken every alien ship at will. The proof was clear, if they wanted to. They could destroy the fleets in seconds, but they did not. They only let the fleets live to carry the message. On Cathrex's warship, silence filled the deck. His soldiers stared at him, waiting for orders. But he had no orders. His pride was gone, his rage broken. He whispered the truth he had never wanted to admit. They are stronger than us. On Zara's ship, the crew looked to her. Unlike Kethrex, she did not hide her fear. They do not fight to win, she said softly. They fight to end. They just showed us they can end all of us whenever they choose. That's the message. Spread across the stars faster than light, every fleet that had sent ships to Earth returned carrying the same story. The humans shut down our ships. They controlled our weapons. They could have killed us all and they let us live. On Venathor, warriors wept in shame. On Jolar, stormlords refused to leave their fortresses. On Cran, hunters bowed their heads and admitted they were no longer. At the top, the galaxy was no longer ruled by arrogance. It was ruled by fear. Back in orbit, the human face appeared again on every screen. Leave, he said simply. Go back to your council. Tell them this. We are awake. We are watching. And if you stand against us, you will not stand at all. The transmission ended. The alien fleets turned away. Not because they were ordered to retreat, because none dared to stay. For the first time in history, the galaxy's greatest powers fled without a shot being fired. Far below, on Earth, the human warships slowly descended back into their oceans. Mountains and deserts, vanishing as silently as they had risen. The aliens above held their breath, terrified they might rise again. In the council chamber, the delegates waited for reports. When they heard the truth, silence filled the hall. None laughed, none boasted. None claimed to be the only Deathworlders anymore, because the proof was undeniable. Humans were back, and this time did not need war to prove their strength. They only needed to remind the galaxy that they had never been prey. They had always been hunters. The galaxy was no longer the same. It had taken only days for humanity to return. And in those days, the balance of power that had lasted for thousands of years collapsed into dust. Worlds that once called themselves unbreakable now trembled. Fleets that once claimed dominance now hid. The word Deathworlder no longer belonged to the Council's proud champions. It belonged to humans, and the Council itself could no longer deny the truth. The chamber of the Galactic Council was not loud anymore. No laughter shook its walls. No boasting echoed through its towers. Instead, silence hung heavy. Delegates sat in their crystal seats, but their eyes were downcast. Many had not slept since the fleet's return from Earth. Some shook with anger. Some trembled with fear. All of them remembered the same images: human warships rising from oceans like monsters, satellites that shut down entire fleets with a gesture, eyes of hunters looking at them as if they were prey, and the words that could not be erased. "We are awake." At last, the High Speaker rose. His crystal skin reflected the dim light, but his voice was cracked. "We must decide," he said. "Humanity has returned. What is our response?" The chamber erupted less with arrogance than with desperation. "Destroy them now," one delegate cried. "Send every fleet, every weapon, burn their planet before they rise further." Another slammed his fist. "We already tried. They shut us down without firing a shot. Do you want the whole galaxy dead?" Others shouted for peace, for alliance, for surrender. The word surrender had never been spoken in the Council before, but now it was shouted by many. Zara stood among them, feathers ruffled, but eyes calm. "We saw them. We fought them. We lost. The truth is clear: war with humans means extinction. There's no victory, only death." Cathrex growled from his seat. His pride still smoldered, but his voice was lower than before. "If we kneel to them, we are nothing. We fight, we are nothing. What choice is left to us?" The chamber fell silent again, because no one had an answer. Beyond the Council, Galaxy had already decided. On Venathor, the reptilian Deathworld, whole armies deserted. Their generals could not force them back into battle. Warriors who had never feared storms or fire now built walls, hoping to hide from human eyes. On Jeweler, storms raged, but the Stormlords stayed grounded. They told their people to never fly too far, never draw attention, never be noticed by Earth. On Cran, the hunters stopped their endless duels. For the first time in history, the predators laid down their weapons not in peace, but in fear of Taze. The greater predator that had returned, the galaxy was no longer preparing for conquest. It was preparing to survive. And then one final time, the message came. Every fleet, every world, every council chamber. The screens lit up with the same human face guard, armored eyes filled with storms. "You have seen enough," the human said. His voice was calm, but every word cut like a blade. "You came to prove you were Deathworlders. Now you know the truth." He leaned closer. "We are not myths. We are not dust. We're not gone." The silence across the galaxy deepened. Even the strongest warriors held their breath. "We are hunters. And hunters do not need to roar. We only need to wait. Remember, our silence is not weakness. It is patience. And if you ever stand against us again, you will not stand at all." The screen went black. No threats, no demands, no boasts. Just truth. In the council chamber, not one delegate moved. Not one spoke. At last the High Speaker lowered his crystal head. "It is finished," he whispered. "We thought we ruled the galaxy. We were wrong." Another delegate, his voice shaking, asked, "Then what are we now?" Zara answered softly, "Survivors. If we are lucky." The council rewrote its records. The histories that once mocked humans as myths were destroyed. New words were carved into the archives. There are two kinds of Deathworlders: those who boast and those who are human. Every species, every fleet, every soldier learned the same lesson. They could no longer rule by fear, because there was a greater fear above them all. They no longer laughed at the name Earth. They whispered it with reverence, and they prayed never to see its fleets again. Far away, on Earth, the humans returned. To their silence, the warships sank back into oceans and deserts. The satellites dimmed. The hunters disappeared into the ruins, but they had left their mark. Across the galaxy, entire civilizations lived under the shadow of a single truth. Humanity had proven itself the deadliest of all, and though the stars seemed quiet, everyone knew the truth. Humans were watching, and they always would be.